Oh, hey, everybody. Good morning. You're watching Rebel Roundup. I am your host, Sheila Gunn Reid. I'm not in my usual studio at home, and neither is my co-host, Drea Humphrey. She's about 100 meters in front of me in her camper van, and we are both at Universal Ostrich Farm at the battle for the birds here as Universal Ostrich Farm is doing their best to fight depopulation order, I've seen it described as, of 400 otherwise healthy ostriches after they are exposed and recovered from avian flu about 270 days ago. This is the Friday show, which means it's a panel show. And the panel is entirely in British Columbia, although two of us are not British Columbians. Now, before we bring in our panelists, and one of our panelists is, I'm trying to figure out, right behind me over there. We'll get to him in a second. I think there's the truck. Anyway, he's right over there. But if you're watching us on Rumble, thank you for supporting a great free speech platform. If you'd like to support the work that we're doing here at Rebel News, but even more specifically at Universal Ostrich Farm, you can leave a paid chat there. It's called a Rumble rant. And if it's over the $5 US cutoff, we'll read it on here. If it's under that, time permitting, we'll do our very best to get to it. And I really do mean that, because I realize that you have less money in your pocket than ever before, thanks to Mark Carney. And we really do appreciate you choosing us as the place to throw your support behind. And every little bit helps. If you're watching us on the censorship platform of YouTube, the same rules apply. Their paid chat is called a super chat. But if you are not able to or if you are not able to catch the live version of the show, you can also leave a paid comment after the fact. It's called a super thanks, and we appreciate you for that. Now, let's bring in our panelists. We've got with us Kat Kanada. You might know her as Kat Helmsley. She's recently married. Kat, congratulations on the nuptials. You are British Columbian. Thank you for joining us on the show today. And as I said, behind me, I'm sort of all turned around, but behind me is Chris Dacey, independent journalist from Ottawa. And he's also here at Universal Ostrich Farm. And I got to tell you, I had never met Chris in real life before. Of course, he's been on the show and we've talked to him before. And at Rebel News, we're such big fans of his work. But the second I met him, and this is the highest order of compliment from an Alberta supremacist like myself, I was like, how is that guy not from Red Deer? The only thing that gave you away was that you needed a little bit of help to care for your cowboy boots. But you are very Albertan in your mindset. Yeah, there's Chris right there, right behind me. But I feel like even though you're grinding it out in Ottawa, and thank God you are, I feel like you just embody that Western spirit of freedom. And I guess, Drea, I'll throw it to you. We've got ostrich updates. One thing I noticed since I left a couple weeks ago and then came back is that the RCMP have moved their drone HQ. It used to be up the road at, the little fire station. But, after a fire in the bales that one night, they've moved it to an open field up the road. And I went up the hill and took some footage of that if we want to show it. So this is them. They've got quite the operation. And these drones, Chris, as you'll attest to, they fly night and day, the RCMP drones. And as I said yesterday on our town hall that we did for our Producers Club folks, it can't be good for the birds. It's stressful for the farmers, but it can't be good for the livestock either. There's quite a police presence all over the place here.
Yeah, did you throw it to me or did you go to Chris there?
Yeah, take it away. Take it away and we can all just jump in.
I was reading something I want to mention in a second here. But you're right. And in addition to what you're talking about with the drones, they are flying night and day over the farmhouse, which is away from the herd. They're giving no privacy to them at all. They're flying so low. It's stressing out the family, of course. And again, this is all happening during a stay order, when nothing is supposed to be happening. There is no call happening. It's all paused while we wait for the Supreme Court to decide on whether or not the farm is able to pursue a case in the Supreme Court. Yet almost in like the last 3 days or so, it's like the RCMP has upped their drone game again. There was a minor medical sort of incident that happened here. It was an elderly supporter who's always here, wasn't feeling very good. The supporters addressed it very fast. The police on site were finally doing something useful, and they came and helped, and people gave them a round of applause and stuff. And then she ended up getting checked out with the paramedics and is already back. But where I'm getting at is during that process when the cops were coming to help, which was great, one of the cop grabbed like a video sort of, the long scope that they use. So he ran back and got that and started looking at the tent. And one of the supporters here is like, yeah, that's not going to save her life. Could you please put that down? So, I'm just shocked at how much resources are being used for this operation on a taxpayer dime. The fact that this even started at all when the CFIA knew that the farm's lawyer, Omar Sheikh, was going to be pursuing an emergency stay, the fact that they descended on here to try to beat him in doing so is just such another injustice layered upon injustices.
Yeah, I want to bring Chris Dacey into this because, let's just show Chris's video. And he notes out just the vast police resources being deployed to the farm here. And I feel like there are other things to do in British Columbia other than worry about what's happening at this ostrich farm. But again, the police are here at the behest of the CFIA. So we've got a video from Chris about the lunch break for the RCMP. Maybe we could show that. So Chris, you want to describe what's happening here? Yeah.
Yeah. So the RCMP, as you see, I mean, they're eating lunch here. They obviously have to eat. I'm not kind of trying to make fun of them eating, but the important thing is that there's 2 12-hour shifts of RCMP here. And on shift change at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., you basically see like 30 plus vehicles roll in here. It's a good 60 officers. They have drone teams. I've seen canine teams. I can't begin to imagine what the total number is. There's also a staging post up the road with, command vehicles and different things. So these guys are not only working 12-hour shifts, they're actually 16 hours because they have a 2-hour commute each way. So huge overtime costs being incurred. I mean, all these officers that I imagine would probably rather be doing real police work somewhere else.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've actually, myself and our helper here, Lyndon, we actually sort of remarked, like if you had a choice between policing the local dirtbags or the people like doing actual police work and or just hanging out at the ostrich farm, I suppose this is good work if you could get it, because this is real peaceful and there's not all that much exciting happening here as we, I guess, to use lack of a better phrase, hold the line as we wait for the courts to decide if they're going to hear this. Kat, I'll just get your initial impressions about what's going on at the ostrich farm. We're 12 minutes in and I haven't let you have a word in edgewise, sorry.
Oh, thanks, Sheila. Well, I mean, to say the very least, it's extremely disturbing that the government has this kind of power to come, for example, to your private property to surveil you. I don't know how much people know. I come from a communist country. I come from Soviet Union. There is no freedoms there. There's no rights there. There's no property rights there either. When it was still the Soviet Union. So when I see this kind of stuff, obviously it's extremely disturbing. It baffles me that the procedure is so rigid. If the birds are now healthy, which is what I understand, and if there is some sort of immunity amongst the birds, because I think there were at some point they had something, but now they seem to be doing really well. So the fact that they can just blanketly say that's it, call them, no revisiting, no evaluating, no case-by-case basis, nothing like that, that is obviously dystopian. It's disturbing. And to know that the government has this kind of power just to come onto your property, to disperse so many resources from the police to the property, to watch, to surveil, like you just said, you know, to say the very least, is disturbing. And I wish that more people understand just how egregious this actually is, because I feel like a lot of people in Canada who don't spend, you know, too much time online, like perhaps, you know, all the people on the panel here do, that they don't really understand the severity of what's happening on this farm. And you know, I just hope that at some point we wake up and realize that the government has way too much power if they can come and do this kind of thing on your private property and just basically say, well, your business, it's got to go. Your business can't survive. The bird's got to go just because, well, I don't know, one bird had a flu, or what was it?
Yeah. Yeah. The sniffles, as they're called.
The sniffles.
Yeah. It's it reminds me right down to the security fencing and then the black wrap around it of what the RCMP were asked to do to Grace Life Church at the hands of the health authorities in Alberta under the direction of Jason Kenney. And I mean, this is just their thing. They don't want you to see what they're doing behind that security fence. But the fact that the security fence is up is indicative of the tyranny here. And, you know, like I've done it as a farmer, I'm of course obviously concerned about farmers' rights and property rights and what the government can do to you in the name of public health and food security. But I've done a real deep dive over the last 3 days into why ostriches specifically are used in medical research. And it's because of their robust immune systems. And I've been communicating with the American Ostrich Institute. They've been or American Ostrich Association, pardon me. They're sharing some very interesting research about one of the ways that they are trying to combat avian flu in poultry, which ostriches are not. They're a different kind of bird. They're called a ratite. But they're actually trying to genetically engineer chickens to have the same sort of robust immune system that ostriches already have, to put an end to the spread of avian flu. And in the meantime, we're going to do away with ostriches who already have that exact immunity. It's the most bizarre thing ever. Drea, just to close up on this topic, because we want to move on to Antifa, tell us what's happening today and over the Thanksgiving weekend, because the clock is ticking on the courts, right?
Right. And I do want to rant about something quickly as well.
Please do.
Well, today, Sheila and I are waiting to see if we get any decision by 2 p.m. PST, because, of course, this decision is being made in Ottawa. So that's the time difference here from BC. So it should be that if we don't hear anything, the birds are safe for turkey long weekend for happy Thanksgiving. So I know they're preparing to have their Thanksgiving festivities, and I heard they're welcoming people to come join that as well. There's been some turkeys donated. If the birds are safe, I think Sheila and myself will relieve ourselves, go visit our family, manage something at the home. I don't know. I think, Dacey, you're staying through Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I think I'll hold out, particularly if you guys leave. I'll hold out a little bit and maybe make a decision early next week. I'll see how it goes. I'm kind of open-ended still.
Right, that's great. So we have eyes through Dacey Media there as well. And of course, I myself, maybe even Sheila too, we have a lot of information to get out to that I can do from home as well. And then, of course, we will be back when the birds are at risk again. So I wanted to rant about something that I saw just as I was going on here. And in case you haven't noticed, because maybe you've learned to trust independent media over this time, is the smear campaign now coming out of the mainstream media against the farmers. This happened right when they got this miraculous last minute stay, when the agency was physically here. I saw before that mainstream media journalists be treating them very fair. I saw some with tears in their eyes on multiple occasions over the months that I've come here. And now there is clearly a directive to find whatever you can and go hard against these farmers who are dealing with so much. Not only are they dealing with this fight, this loss of income as their research birds have been in quarantine, even Katie's father, co-owner Karen's husband is a paraplegic that they care for around the clock in the house behind me. So they're just dealing with so much. So this Toronto Star article, we need to talk about this.
It's
we need
Bruce
to talk
Arthur. We have to.
this.
Bruce Arthur is a sports journalist and not a great one. And he became a public health crazy person during COVID. And apparently it's in the bloodstream now, like an AstraZeneca clot. And this is his thing now, is just attacking people who question public health overreach. But I'll let Drea take this away. I'm full of opinions, and I'm sure the other two panelists definitely are about this.
You guys are going to love this. So the title is, it's an opinion piece. The BC Ostrich affair is not about the birds. Now, I agree with that. It's about
Me
so
too.
much more than the birds. So I'm with them on that title. We've already gone through the property rights, farming rights, scientific freedoms. But if you scroll down, if we can show it here, they keep interviewing this, the mainstream lately, this Dr. Angela Rasmussen. And when they interview her, she's a scientist out of the University of Saskatchewan. They always say things like she's impartial. But of course, what is she? She's in the department, a virologist in the Department of Vaccine and Infectious Disease Organization at the thing. So we know that the science that they're trying to preserve is in competition with that. But anyways, so she says, this scientist, okay, this is who they're getting to go against, the farmers fight to save them. She says the scientific issues actually are the lowest priority issues to me. So
I agree, sister. I agree. Yeah, but I agree.
Yeah.
I agree that is the truth here, that the scientific issue seems to be the lowest priority for the government.
Exactly.
At least this is like a rare moment of honesty.
Right, because they're saying they're healthy, they're not a risk for anyone, and the U.S. So she's talking about how the U.S. is saying, whoa, 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 save these birds. They could help fight the avian flu. We'll help you guys. She's actually directly hitting back, saying the science doesn't matter. And she says, I think those ostriches probably aren't dangerous anymore. Admitting it to the public, but it's the principle of the thing. You can't make this up. And then she goes into, the economy security issues that it would create in terms of potentially scanning our entire poultry. They're not poultry, and she should know that. Poultry export market would be devastating for Canada. So this is the whole keep healthy people home when they're not sick and they can't spread during COVID again. Look at this at the bottom. So she says, but the real underlying issue is the anti-government belief that these public health orders are optional and we don't want government regulation. That is why they have so much attention and why Rebel News and the entire far-right media ecosystem is involved.
Oh my gosh.
There's a point at which the Bruce Arthur also goes on about, you're attacking government sovereignty. I'm hurting the government's feelings now for thinking that they shouldn't destroy these people's livelihoods for unscientific reasons that even this Angela Rasmussen admits is unscientific. Sorry, go ahead, Kat.
It's just comical listening to all of that. It just reminds me of the COVID times when, like you mentioned, where not having any symptoms is a symptom. So if you're a healthy person, or if you're a healthy ostrich, you're a danger to public safety. It's to say it out loud even feels wrong because of how ridiculous it sounds. And somehow they always admit to the fact that none of this is scientific. And whenever there's a science that's presented that counters their narrative, they're like, oh, that's not science. Oh, what do you call it? Natural immunity. That's just a far right conspiracy theory, even though it's been like the norm for I don't know how many hundreds of years. So pardon me, I'm having a hard time containing my laughter. The ridiculousness of what Drea just read by that person is just wild.
Right. And they admit it's not about the science. And now it's about these people are anti-government. And so they should be destroyed. So their livelihood should be ruined because they're not following our stupid rule. And that's the whole point is, Jordan Peterson famously wrote, don't follow stupid rules. And this is a stupid rule. And 9 million birds in British Columbia have already been culled. If we want to talk
in
about
the last 3
economics,
years.
yeah, just in the last 3 years. So if we want to talk about economic security, 9 million birds have already been just wiped out. And these birds could hold the cure for the next 9 million or the next 20 million. But instead of actually relying on, okay, these 400 birds could be what saves us from having to perpetually compensate these farms all the time once they're exposed to avian flu, they've decided that no, we just have to keep doing this depopulation program. That's what they call it. And they say, like, look, ostrich farmers, can't you shut up? Quit your complaining. Some chicken barns have been depopulated 3 times. Here's the difference, though. Chickens, oh, it's dinner time. Someone's ringing the dinner bell.
Breakfast. Yeah, we don't even know what time it is, but
I don't know. But chickens, like meat birds, have a lifespan of like 6 to 8 weeks to maturity, right? So if you're depopulating a chicken barn 3 times, what is that? 18 weeks? 24 weeks? These birds to maturity and to obtain their genetics, 40 years. That's the difference, right? Like, you can't just depopulate this and replace the work. It's an actual human lifetime if you do that to get back to where we are today.
Well, I'm thankful for Dr. Rasmussen. She's missed the memo that every time they name us, like, people are just like, who's Rebel News? Oh my gosh, let's go find them. Because they can see the insanity there and go, you mean someone speaking against this? Let me go to them. So thank you.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Before we hit an ad break, we've got like about 5 minutes before we're at the middle of the hour. Let's just really talk real quick about the Antifa stuff, because we've got Tara Armstrong, who's a BC MLA, who's talking about it. And of course, Dane Lloyd, Conservative MP from the great Free State of Alberta, mentioned Alexa's report in the Public Safety Committee, SECU Committee, yesterday morning, or morning our time, afternoon his time. But he brought up to the minister, hey, we might have a terrorism cell working inside of the DND. And you know what? Good for Dane Lloyd bringing this up, because the mainstream media, all they've done, if they've even talked about it at all, has been to mock Alexa's brave work. But it is a very serious thing. And let's hear from Dane Lloyd, and then we'll hear from Chris, and then to Kat.
There have been allegations made that there was an Antifa member who threw smoke bombs into a church service in Montreal this past summer. The allegations are that they're a government employee that work on a military base outside of Montreal. Are you aware of these allegations, and are they being investigated?
Allegations such as that are investigated by the police of jurisdiction, so that in this case it would be the City of Montreal Police.
Considering that this is a potential terrorism case, does this concern you? Are you at all concerned about potentially a government employee being a member of an organization like Antifa and committing a crime like throwing smoke bombs in a church service?
I'm concerned at every incidence of hate at any place, including churches, and certainly if the allegation involves government employees, that makes me more concerned.
Yeah, let's go to Chris. I'm glad that this was raised, because like I said, the mainstream media has just made fun of Alexa's reporting. She was attacked while reporting on this. But it's good to see it raised with the public safety minister. Take that for what you will. I'd also like to see it raised with the defense minister. Chris, I'll go to you.
Yeah, I've been watching what's been going on and what's happening to Alexa quite closely. I had a chance to work around her and with her a little bit, and I can kind of relate, because I've been under these types of attacks in Ottawa. Not quite as bad as Alexa, thank God. But this is a big development, and it's interesting. This isn't the first military connection that we have here. A couple of years ago, when I was doing a protest with Save Canada and Billboard Chris, a massive protest in Ottawa, there was a serving member of Joint Task Force 2, Canada's Tier 1 Special Forces unit, at the front of that mob. So he was, Antifa, masks, everything behind him, and he was right at the front, like leading that, basically the tip of the spear for an Antifa mob. And I've been trying to get research into that a little bit. I mean, it's a very secretive part of the military. But as far as I can tell, that member is still serving, and he's now a lieutenant colonel, possibly, still with Special Forces Command. So there could be other Antifa and these connections possibly throughout our military, and that's very concerning.
Well, and I think not just throughout our military, but Chris, I am convinced to the pits of my soul that those crazy people who perpetually attack you on the streets of the government town of Ottawa, I bet you a good portion of them are employed in all sorts of government ministries. Kat, I want to bring you in on this because I don't feel like Gary Anandasangri is taking this all that seriously, but should we even expect him to take it all that seriously since he's got close ties to the Tamil Tigers and he's had to recuse himself from any files related to the Tamils?
It doesn't surprise me that a Liberal minister, is plugged in the way that he is. When I hear of Gary and then wherever his last name is, I can't even pronounce it. It also just reminds me of how he was talking about when he was being recorded about the gun bans, and he's like, "Well, I'll personally guarantee that you are good, while the rest of them, whatever." So this guy has no morals. He doesn't have a principle that he operates by, and it's not surprising. This is the typical Liberal modus operandum. Like I'm not surprised that this is who he is. And what is extremely concerning, though, Antifa was just designated as a terrorist organization in the U.S. Trump said it. So and the headline that I saw coming out, I think the press secretary's account on X was Antifa is fleeing the U.S. after it has been designated as a terrorist organization there. And my mind only goes to the fact that, well, where the heck are these people fleeing to? Probably to the country that shares the largest land border with the U.S., which is us, Canada. And but yeah, on a more serious note, like the fact that a actual alleged member of this terrorist organization is in our military, I have no words other than to think that we're living in a banana republic. Our country is not a serious country. Our government is not serious at all. All we ever see is corruption, just flagrant disregard of the rule of law here. And Gary's statement, sure, this will be looked at by the police or the RCMP. I have no faith in that coming to any kind of fruition whatsoever. I don't feel any confidence that anyone's gonna, come to justice on this if this guy is in fact Antifa, which it looks like he is. And frustration all around. I don't want to say I feel blackpilled, but sometimes when I see cases such as this, a terrorist cell in our military, I feel like I'm having a bit of a black pill moment when I read about stuff like this or see stuff like this. And the other thing I'll say is, amazing job that Alexa is doing. Like, she is so brave taking on these people. You never know how they're going to act. They're so violent. They're so unpredictable, yet she goes out there. So just my absolute admiration and kudos to her for continuing to go out there and expose these freaks and terrorists.
Well, and it's not just that they're violent and unpredictable. They are unrepentant, and they face almost zero consequences for what they do because the police and obviously the government doesn't take them seriously. And it's not just that Trump is declaring them a terrorist entity in the United States. He declared them an international terrorism group, which puts them in the same category as like ISIS and Al Qaeda. And as I was saying on the live stream yesterday, that's gonna
By connecting businesses with qualified candidates. Work First Alberta helps employers change their story. By connecting job seekers to work simulation and training. Work First Alberta helps people change their story.
Gun bans make great distractions.
Trudeau may be gone, but Carney has picked up his same rhetoric.
We will quickly, and I mean quickly, reinvigorate the buyback of assault-style firearms.
Hunters, collectors, competitors, and defenders of tradition are still being targeted. While criminals run wild under Liberal policy. But we are fighting back. By delaying and dismantling unjust legislation, by confronting policy at its source, like on the global stage at the United Nations, through our unmatched record of political lobbying and our Save Firearms program, actively saving firearms from government crushers in real time. And we're not done yet. Join us, Canada's National Firearms Association, in defense of freedom.
Okay, we're back. Sorry, I think we both had a Starlink issue, Drea and I, at exactly the same time. So thanks for bearing with us. What I was saying before I was unceremoniously kicked off the internet was after Trump declared Antifa an international terrorism organization, I think it might cause some problems for Canada's NDP. Like we saw Charlie Angus whip up an Antifa mob just a couple weeks ago. We've seen actually the aforementioned Bruce Arthur tweet things in support of Antifa, saying, Antifa, they're just anti-fascist. And guess whose grandpas fought fascists in the Second World War, as if those are the same things as the black-clad vegan mobs of arsonists who run amok in our cities. It's just like everybody's grandpa. But the issue was raised in the BC legislature. I'll let Drea cue that up.
Yeah, this is why both Sheila and I have two separate Starlinks here. we do everything modestly to report. So when we ask for your help with things like that, it's needed. Somehow
this is my own yeah, it's my own personal Starlink. Like this is mine, and it's still. Go ahead.
But yeah, well, what I like, and I did look up that minister's last name, Gary's last name, and I'm not even going to bother trying. So I'm unfortunately going to call him Gary. What I do like about him is he did say, you know, I don't support that. We can't really expect that in the socialist BC government when Tara Armstrong also raised whether or not our government here will condemn Antifa. Let's take a look.
And perpetrating violence in the United States, Canada, and around the world. Charlie Kirk's assassin was Antifa, and Antifa members celebrated his murder. Popular Antifa mouthpieces like Hassan Piker are openly calling for conservatives to be murdered, including a sitting U.S. senator. In Montreal, Antifa members brutally assaulted and broke the arm of Billboard Chris, who was 1BC's esteemed guest here yesterday in the legislature. In Vancouver, last Saturday, Antifa members marched in a demonstration with Sammy Doon, a listed terrorist organization. They wore masks, dressed in black, and flew the Antifa flag to intimidate the public. So my question to the Attorney General is simple. Will she, right now, right here in this House, condemn Antifa?
Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll just start by saying that we're a government that's focused on bringing people together and not dividing them, and is focused on addressing the real issues that British Columbians are facing today. I want to talk about our steps that we've taken on terrorist organizations because of the Premier's leadership, that the Bishnoi gang was classified as a terrorist organization. An example of a real issue that we're addressing that British Columbians are experiencing right now, and we'll keep doing that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member supplemental.
Well, with all due respect, Mr. Speaker, my question was not about that. My question was about Antifa, a decentralized leftist organization like neo-Nazis on the right, which should be very easy to condemn. I personally condemn both Antifa and neo-Nazis. Mr. Speaker, why won't the Attorney General say the words? It's easy. I condemn Antifa.
Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We condemn all forms of political violence. In fact, there were recent incidents of members of this House where they've experienced what we think is really unnecessary and unfortunate incidents of violence against their offices and threatening their people. These are the real issues that we're focusing on, that British Columbians are facing right now. And as I mentioned, the Bishnoi gang, another real issue that we're focused on today. This type of Trump-style politics that's coming to this House that isn't addressing the real issues that British Columbians are facing is really unnecessary and unwelcome.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Trump-style politics. She treats it like some sort of conspiracy theory, the whole Antifa thing. She's so condescending. And what one BC party MLA Tara Armstrong pointed out about Antifa marching alongside with Samadoun, who's been deemed terrorist. This is our Attorney General, Nikki Sharma, who hasn't acted on that issue as well properly. We know that Charlotte Cates hasn't been prosecuted, and she is the leader of Samadoun, one of the leaders, by Nikki Sharma, who's in charge of that kind of thing. So it's not surprising at all, but to treat it like it's a conspiracy theory. I mean, my personal run-ins with Antifa have always been anytime I do any reporting on protecting children from radical gender ideology. At one incident, if we have the B-roll and we can just show some of that, as I'm saying, at one incident, I counted them assaulting 7 different individuals in one protest while we were surrounded by RCMP who did absolutely nothing. They're always in black clad. There they are. I investigated them and located 2 of them by their eyes. Took a glass of wine over the weekend. And of course, they're all embedded in the Antifa groups. And let's not forget the Million March for Kids, how close of a relationship the Antifa likes have with our unions, how they show up whenever our unions mobilize against parents who don't want their children looking at cartoon porn and start doing Antifa tactics where the unions are then advising based on the anti-hate, and all of that is all wrapped up together, advising these violent protesters to track parents' license plates so they can do God knows what. It's all violent, it's all intimidating. I could go on, but that's usually when I run in with them.
Let's bump ahead because we have about 18 minutes left in the show, and Kat and Chris have agreed to stay on the full duration of the show. Normally we just keep our panelists the first half an hour, so thank you for that. Bill C2. So the government says it's going to crack down on hate, but not the likes of Antifa hate, of course. We've got Mark Carney saying his government is going to clamp down on hate, and he was asked if he's okay with Liberal Bill C2 giving sweeping surveillance powers to police and enforcement authorities. Let's take a look at that.
And that's why Canada's new government is focused on protecting our communities, protecting our borders, protecting our country, and protecting our way of life. And that's from more RCMP and border security officers to new legislation that combats hate.
As you know, C2 remains in Parliament, and as you also surely know, the bill contains all these sweeping lawful access powers for intelligence agencies and police. Now, I'm curious, are you comfortable with the notion that police or intelligence can go to any service provider, it can be doctors, counselors, child therapists, pharmacists, and obtain information about if someone is a client, since when, where they obtain those services without a warrant?
The 2 things. One is the bill has been divided into C2 and C12. What you just referred to were issues in C12. So we're talking about the same. No, it's divided into C2 and C12. There are 2 processes. And Parliament will work through, including through the committee stage, and ultimately through a vote. we have a responsibility as parliamentarians, as the government, is to protect our communities and protect our borders. And where there is, where it is merited, and there is probable cause, plausible expectation, potential illegal trafficking of, for example, and this is a case, unfortunately, in our society, of precursors and components of fentanyl, which kills thousands of Canadians every year, even though, despite the efforts, kills thousands of Canadians every year, and is shipped through Canada Post when it's operating. There is merit, in the view of law enforcement, and in the view of being consistent with charter rights, that there is an ability to take those measures to save lives in our community. Now, this is legislation. This is Parliament operating as it should. Legislation's being debated. It's being adjusted. The split in the bill allows certain elements to proceed at a certain pace and others to be interrogated.
That's garbage. First of all, I don't care if this surveillance measure lives in C2 or C12. The fact that it exists appears to be the problem, although Mark Carney doesn't seem to think that way. They can open your mail without a warrant. They can go to your doctor and find out why you're there. They can order a list of your subscribers to your Substack or your ex-subscribers. Why would they need that? That has nothing to do with the border bill. It looks to me like the Liberals took the pressure campaign from the Trump administration to do something about the border, and I guess it's good enough for Liberal supporters. Oh, look, they've got a border bill. But when you drill down into it, what they're doing is turning us into a police state. And again, all in the name of public health. Let's go to Kat.
Well, Sheila, whenever I hear, our federal government saying words like public safety and anti-hate and similar, all I hear is government overreach, intrusion into privacy, loss of rights, loss of freedoms, as we saw during COVID. They cared about public safety. They cared about public health. All that turned into was exactly, as you said, a police state. You couldn't go to the theater. You couldn't go to a restaurant without showing your papers. People were turned into second-class citizens. Churches were shut, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So whenever I hear them talking about safety and concerns of hate and presenting this bill as something to do with the border, that's immediately where my mind goes to. Like, I don't even need to drill down. I'm sure you've done the research, you've done the fine print reading as you described what was happening regarding this bill. I don't even really need to do that, not because I'm lazy to do that, I probably should, but I just know that whenever they present something in the name of public safety or anti-hate, I know that it's going to turn into something dystopian, something out of 1984, something where there is extreme, egregious government overreach, as we saw during COVID. And I can't remember the exact bill number, but whenever they said, oh, we're concerned about online safety of children, it all just turns into censorship, government overreach, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like a repeating nightmare with these guys.
Right. Yeah, and that's exactly the thing. Like, you're referring to the Online Harms Act Bill C-63, right, which thankfully died in the prorogation of the last parliament, but they are reintroducing it in all kinds of different forms because they're using this safety. We must protect the children, and it's like there are already laws that do that, but we have to protect them, and that's why you have to be censored online. And I think as the federal government continues to fail Canadians, they're going to do their best to investigate and censor the people who are pointing out those failures, like independent journalists on this call and like our friend Chris Dacey. What do you think about this? They're going to keep us all safe by opening our mail.
Yeah, they're spying on us and stripping our rights, but it's for our own good, or it's for public safety. Like, I mean, anytime they start talking about any new law, I'm immediately apprehensive. We have plenty of laws in Canada, in many cases far too many, and they're choosing not to enforce them. I mean, we have laws that could have protected our border. We have laws to deal with all kinds of different things. And it seems that often these laws aren't applied, or certainly aren't applied equally. We don't need a whole bunch more laws that will just be used to strip our rights further and further control us.
Yeah, I agree. We're quickly running out of time here, but I want to talk about this one because Kat has sort of weighed in on this one a little bit. And you're an immigrant to this country. So I want your viewpoint on this. Guilty as charged, came in the front door, didn't sneak in the back. Michelle Rempel-Garner, who I think has, like she was a rising star in the Conservative Party, and then we had two really bad leaders. And so she sort of got backburnered. And now she's her usual self again. She's an economist by trade, by the way. So she's really great on how the intersection of immigration and unconstrained immigration and the economy. And actually, if memory serves me correctly, this is an issue that has been repeatedly raised in the Chinese expat community in and around Kenny Chu's former riding and Alice Wong's former riding in British Columbia. And so conservatives want to end birthright citizenship for people who are temporary foreign workers, temporary foreign students, who come here and then magically have a baby. And then all of a sudden they use their infant child who is now a citizen in Canada just by virtue of being born in a hospital here or just on our soil, or even in our airway, like in the sky above Canada. And then they sponsor the rest of the family to come here. The baby does it. And it was quite a scam happening in some hospitals in the Lower Mainland. And I remember, I think it was maybe 2018, 2019, I forget which Conservative convention it was at, but it was I think it was Kenny Chu's, maybe it was Alice Wong's riding in the Lower Mainland of BC, Richmond area, correct me, Drea. But it was largely a Chinese Canadian-led initiative saying, we have hospitals in our area where the majority of babies are being born to foreign nationals coming here to get around these rules. And we need something to do. We need to do something about it because that's not how we did it. That's not how we got here. And we've got actually a clip that Kat cut. Former Liberal Immigration Minister Mark Miller says Conservatives want to end birthright citizenship in order to whip up sentiment against people who weren't born in Canada. Let's watch this, and then I want to go to Kat, because do you feel like we're whipping up something against you?
Pardon me? We asked you about birthright citizenship, and Conservative MP Michelle Rempel-Garner says we should get rid of it. What do you think?
Get rid of it entirely.
Yes.
I mean,
before a motion at the Immigration Committee.
I think the Constitution would disagree with her, and the court cases related to birthright citizenship. The odd thing about the Citizenship Act is we've never had a coherent definition of citizenship. So there is some discussion around whether you can pass on citizenship ad nauseum and with no connection to Canada. The current bill that's before the House proposes a cutoff that I think is rational, but simply to say that cut off birthright citizenship is wrong. It means potentially my kids wouldn't have citizenship. If it were retroactive, their kids wouldn't have it even if they had a connection to Canada. So it's a little ridiculous. I think there's something behind it that she can speak to eventually. It's perhaps populist to whip up sentiment against people that weren't necessarily born here.
Kat, do you feel that we've whipped up sentiment against you?
Absolutely not. That is just a ridiculous thing, something pretty typical of a Liberal to say, to completely dismiss the legitimate concerns. When Michelle Rempel-Garner brought up that point during question period, she was basically saying there are over 3 million temporary residents in Canada, and many of them are abusing this loophole. And all she was saying is we need to end the birthright citizenship for those people when there's not a parent that is holding either citizenship or permanent resident status in Canada. So I absolutely don't feel discriminated against at all. I don't feel any sentiment against me. I feel more Canadian than ever. I have a Canadian passport. I'm a Canadian citizen. So no, obviously she was talking about the program being completely abused by, the people that you mentioned that come here to just have babies and sponsor, I don't know, 30 more family members to come here and, use the benefits that Canada offers to buckle our healthcare system, education system, the housing, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just, they have no talking points. So they have to say something ridiculous to try and counter a legitimate concern brought up by the Conservatives.
Right. Yeah, and we just saw him go to like the most outlandish thing. Well, then maybe my kids won't be citizens. Well, why would you say that? That's not what we're talking about. Like, it's the dumbest thing ever. I'll go to Chris and no, actually, I'll go to Drea. I haven't let you have a word in a while, and I'm very sorry for that. Go ahead, Drea.
No, that's okay. Well, you're right about where this is birthed, the Richmond sort of area. And I did report on this years ago now, so my memory's a little bit foggy, but I remember interviewing people from Hong Kong and Chinese Canadians, and they were saying, this is ridiculous. The government, according to them, Beijing is promoting this activity to happen. I wonder why. So it's like it's a total Trojan horse. And the fact that years later, we still have not gone ahead and taken care of this is just another sign of a massive failure of the Liberal government.
Yeah. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, I missed the part of that. I cut out for a minute, but it's interesting the way Mark Miller answers the question and the deflection. It reminds me of the time me and Right Blend were talking to him and asking him real legitimate questions about his policy, and his reaction to Right Blend was to turn and say, "You don't like immigrants." So if you even question anything about this, at least for me, the immediate turnaround is, "Oh, shut up, racist." We actually interestingly had a talk with him about that. We were able to confront him a bit, and he kind of maybe agreed that wasn't the best approach, but he wasn't willing to do that on camera, and that's a little bit small and a little bit late, I think.
Let's go to something fun before we get to the chats. And if this is I'm staying in BC. I was gonna trot out the horrible Alberta Senator Chris Wells talking to a British Columbian MP who used to be a terrible NDP MLA in Alberta, but I'll leave that for another time. They were talking about transing the grandparents, making sure they have gender affirmative care. And I'm like, they can't get hip surgery. I'm like, what are you doing? But anyways, just a bunch of crazy people wasting our time and money. Let's go to this because the war on J.K. Rowling rolls on. And it's funny because an entire generation of woke people, for the longest time, I feel like the Harry Potter series was all that they read. Now their new book of choice, of course, is The Handmaid's Tale. And actually, I don't think they've actually read the book. I think they've only seen the series. I wish they had read the book. They might get a little more context. But the ladies of the left need new literature to get their hands on. And so I think they feel betrayed by J.K. Rowling, that she's not one of them on gender issues. So as it turns out, the Vancouver Board of Parks had some sort of struggle session, then a good cry, because some little kids had a Harry Potter walk. A Forbidden Forest experience was set to open on November 7th in Stanley Park. But then they heard from members of Vancouver's, good grief, 2S LGBTQ+ advisory committee. I wish they used the same acronym every time because I can't learn it because it's different every time. And so they avowed her, they disavowed her. So she was disavowed by the Parks Board for some reason, and the little kids don't get to have their Forbidden Forest experience, and the Parks Department has to apologize for the harm caused to transgender people for hosting the event. And they've, as I said, publicly disavowed Rowling's political activity against their community. And they said it was a concrete step to show where the board stands about the lives and rights of transgender, gender diverse, and two-spirit people here in Vancouver. These people just can't leave things alone. Little kids wanted to have a Harry Potter experience in a public park, which belongs to everybody. And a bunch of adult crybabies made sure it didn't happen. And it's just so gross. You know, I'm on some level, look, I believe everybody should have kids, but on some level, sometimes I'm like, I'm kind of glad they sterilized themselves with cross-sex hormones because I feel like they wouldn't make the best parents. God help me. I can't.
But you know,
we'll outbreed them.
No,
yeah,
but you
that's
hit
what
it
I'm
on
here.
the nail.
I'm here to do it.
But this is what I'm trying to say. We care more about, you know, these vulnerable, gender confused people who are literally falling into a eugenic trap that is phasing them out of society. And we're like, no, don't sterilize
Don't
yourself.
do it.
Yet we're the bad guys. But J.K. Rowling, you know, I'm just so embarrassed. I'm always embarrassed of the stuff that's coming out of BC and Canada sometimes. And not that she's going to read my comment, but I apologize. I said, come over for dinner. I see Amy Ham, though, who, of course, has a great connection with her. You know, for her stand, she's the nurse who was politically punished on many ways for knowing the difference between men and women and standing up for same-sex spaces for women. But anyway, she said in retaliation, and I think she means it, she is now going to be planning a yearly Harry Potter, I think she said walkthrough, don't quote me, through the park. So we will be there to cover it for sure. So, you know, the left always does this. They do stupid stuff like this and it backfires. And then more people are like, wait, J.K. Rowling thinks this, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's so, I'll go to Kat because I feel like she's got something percolating inside of her to say. But for a bunch of people who are like, you got to let us live our lives and we're happier than ever, you sure seem miserable. And you're hell-bent on making sure that everybody around you is miserable too. Like, little kids want to walk in the park with sticks and pretend they're wands. Leave them alone. What is wrong with you people? But no, they have to ruin it for everybody all the time. Go ahead.
Yeah, basically just, it was funny how you said that these are a bunch of people who used to read Harry Potter that are now just so big, mad, and butthurt about the fact that she won't advocate for the sterilization and mutilation of young people. And they're just being absolute miserable grumps, and they don't want to see anyone having any fun ever. It's all, they view the world through such a narrow lens, and that's why whenever they hear any kind of disagreement or pushback against their insane positions, they say, well, we can't have that, that's hate, we can't have that, that's bigotry, etc., etc. And it's just little kids wanting to walk through the forest, for crying out loud. Again, it always just reminds me, it always throws me back to COVID when they shut down the playgrounds. And you can't go on the swings because COVID is right there. It's like right there. You're gonna, you know, catch it if you go, heaven forbid, have a swing on the playground or a slide on the playground. So par for the course for these miserable people. You know, obviously the children are the ones that always end up paying the price for their ridiculous stances and the narratives that they hold in their NPC brains. Typical. So, you know, if anything J.K. Rowling can do to trigger these people into meltdowns is always a satisfying thing to watch for me. And basically, yeah, just like no words. Usually it boils down to no words. These people are nuts. They belong in insane asylums. And I agree, you know, we don't want them to sterilize themselves because we do advocate for them. But at the end of the day, like if them not sterilizing themselves means that there's just going to be more of them indoctrinating their offspring into this kind of insanity for us to deal with, no thanks. Like, you know, let nature take its course.
They're always the ones that say we need to give this graphic books. I'm trying to keep this on YouTube here, but like in Alberta, they're like, we need to make sure that these graphic sexual materials are readily available for kids in the school library for the kids. That isn't harmful according to them. But running through the forest in a little cape with stars on it, deciding if you're Slytherin or one of the other groups. I've never seen the movie. I've never read the books. I don't know. But that's the harmful thing for the kids, for these people. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, make it make sense. It seems to me that like these people definitely hate us, but what they hate almost more is like a betrayer. So I think that's why the lightning rod thing happens so much with J.K. Rowling. Like the way they treat somebody who they feel change sides or doesn't fully align with all of their ideologue positions, that person becomes a super lightning rod for them. At least that's the way I've seen it. And I think that's the case with J.K. Rowling here.
Yeah, they hate innocence too.
And I think it's ironic that, like, you know, I guess you could call me an evangelical Christian. I'd say non-denominational, that we're like, let the kids do the witchcraft in the forest. All right, leave them alone.
Good point. Yeah,
just
good
leave
point.
them alone.
Right.
Yeah. Let kids be kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, this is where I'm always happy to be a Catholic around Halloween, because Halloween is kind of a Catholic holiday. So I'm like, ooh, you know, I can lean into my spooky stuff. But yeah, it's funny when you've got the evangelicals like, let the kids conjure in the forest, leave them alone. You know, you've really done something crazy. Let's get to some of these super chats. Drea, do you want to do them, or are you using your phone right now?
No,
Yeah,
I can do it. I can do it.
Yep.
So we've got some that, oh, be nice if I was still in the thread. I don't know what happened to me. Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you want me to? I got it in front of me.
You could start it off if you want.
Okay. I've got a super chat from, oh no, we've got one that's not a super chat, but to Chris. They say, Dominic Pilon says, cool truck. This Nancy gives us $13.99, says, test the ostriches. Yeah, they just won't test them. I think if they're sick, a lot of people would be like, okay, reluctantly, but they refuse to test them, which means the ostriches are obviously perfectly fine. The CFIA have an opportunity to change history. Test for the world. Give Canadians hope. CFIA do the testing. Albertan millionaire. Oh shoot, Brett Wilson. Thank you. Brett Wilson said that he would give $100,000 towards the testing.
And the Trump administration offered to help with that. And I'm sorry, I'm forgetting another man who said that he came here and he performed, he sang, and he said that they would pay for testing too. But we should add that the CFIA is admitting, they admitted in court and they admitted to the veterinarian when he came here, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're healthy. It's just they must die because we say so. Because the World Health Organization said so, to be specific.
Yeah, exactly. Next chat from Kim Brown, $2. The ostriches are not the threat, the CFIA are. I would tend to agree with that. Let's keep going. Rumble Rant, Ryerson Gary, he's a regular chatter. This is $5. Extrapolating the philosophy, if tax sheet Carney had been in charge during COVID, almost every Canadian would have been culled. Well, they did cull you from polite society, didn't they? Rumble Ranter, this is Silverfeet. Every day he gives us a ridiculous DEI thing that he found on a government website. And so Silverfeet is actually an independent journalist in his own right. Day 10. Good job, Tamara, for exposing the public service pride network. ATIP the crap out of this hiring process, and he gives us the number. Ask them who is hired, who is doing the hiring, why all white straight men who applied were immediately screened out. When they block your request, find me and I will connect you with a person on the inside with all the documents, all of the receipts. Canada comes first, but not our jobs. They took the Brockinator from us, and we will take failing up Fraser from this. Oh, Larry Brock. Yes, they took. I'm always mad at our Eastern Boomer friends who voted Liberal, because they took Larry Brock from me, who would have been the greatest justice minister this country ever had, because he was actually a prosecutor in a former life, and he's so good at committee, and he's the Brockinator, and they took him from us, and I will never forgive those people for that. Mad Lab Presk is, no, that's from yesterday. I think we're all caught up, Olivia, is that true? Okay, great. I think we're going to sign off here from Ostrich Burning Man at Universal Ostrich Farms. Kat, let everybody know where they can find your work and support the work that you do as an independent journalist, please.
Yeah, so mainly I'm on X, formerly known as Twitter. My handle is @Kat Canada_TM if people want to go to my page and hit the follow button or even the subscribe button just to support a little bit. That's mainly where I am. I also play around with YouTube a little bit with the same handle at Canada_TM. So if people want to go and support by subscribing, that would help me out a lot. And I'll see you guys online.
Thanks, Kat. Chris, tell us how people can support your independent journalism. You're largely self-funded and you are away from Ottawa. I'm worried that Antifa will get used to you being gone and then just run amok. So, but you're here for now. You're on Ostrich Watch. How do people support your work?
Yeah, so you can see the vast majority of my work on X at Chris Dacey. Also, if you want to see some additional stuff, check out my good friend Sergeant Mike Rude, retired. That's the Rude Awakening Tour. We're doing stuff on his Facebook. And if people want to help out, like you said, I am self-funded and came out here. So if people want to help me out directly, they can do so by email to daceymedia@gmail.com.
Yeah, and Chris, again, highest compliment I can give you. If I met you on the street, I would think you were Albertan. Absolutely.
High praise. I'll take it. High praise. I'll take it.
You know, it's shocking. Shocking. I can't believe you're not from Alberta. Drea, thanks so much for your hard work here. And you can follow all of Drea's important work at the Ostrich Farm here at savetheostriches.com. Hey, before I go, Kat, I'll invite you, but I know you're in Vancouver, so it might be a big ask. Before we go, Nanaimo. Yeah, sorry. Before we go, I want to invite everybody out there, but specifically you, Chris Dacey, because I have you here. If you are in the Toronto area on October 16th, we would love it if you would come to our Rebel News birthday party. It's our 10th birthday party, and it's really a celebration of all the people who have helped us keep going after many, many, many predictions of our demise over the last 10 years. All the people who are like, Rebel News, you're never going to survive this controversy. And then it's like, oh, Glenn McGregor, how many jobs have you had in the last 5 years? So anyway, the Lyndon's laughing at me. So Chris, if you are in the Toronto area, we would love it if you would attend our birthday party as a guest of honor. But for those of you at home, you can go to happybirthdayrebel.com. We would love to celebrate with you and to thank you for helping us survive these last 10 years, this wild, crazy decade. I've gone from being a stay-at-home farm wife to at the Ostrich Farm.
Yeah.
It's funny where life has taken us all.
If we smell like ostriches when you hug us at the party, please excuse.
I'm covered in ostrich dust. And I continue to evolve into an ostrich. My hair has begun to look like feathers as the longer I stay here. So I think that's the show for today. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Drea, for your hard work here. Thank you, Kat, Chris, again, Chris, for your hard work here. Everybody who worked behind the scenes to support us this past week here at the Ostrich Farm on the live stream, but in all the work that we're doing. Thanks so much, guys. Those of you who support our work at home, who pitch in to keep the lights on here on the show, but also who do the very free but super duper important thing of sharing our content and engaging with our content. That helps us get around the YouTube algorithms and the algorithms of the things that I don't really understand. But I know that it helps when you comment and share our work. I think that's it. I guess we're signing off from the Ostrich Farm. I should tell everybody we are not on Monday because it is Canadian Thanksgiving. So we won't be on Monday, but we'll be back on Tuesday. No rest for the wicked. Thanks, everybody. And as I have been saying on the show, if you find us offensive, maybe don't find us at all. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Toronto Rebel News fans, listen up. Rebel News is celebrating 10 years of fearless journalism with our 10th birthday bash, and you're invited to join us. Last week, hundreds of Rebel fans packed our Calgary party for an unforgettable night of music, food, and fun. Now it's Toronto's turn. Join us on Thursday, October 16th at 6 p.m. near Black Creek and Lawrence for a night you will not forget. Expect a lively evening with Rebel News journalists and crew, past and present, cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, and of course, a birthday cake.
Happy birthday, Rebel. Happy birthday. Happy 10 years, Rebel. There you go. That's what we're talking about there.
A fun photo booth with keepsakes and a full-on celebration of free speech, independent media, and the community that made it all possible.
Keep doing what you're doing. You guys are doing fantastic.
Keep at it. You guys have made change as far as I can see.
Happy birthday, Rebel News. Let's keep going.
Keep up the good work and keep fighting for freedom.
Just keep on doing what you're doing.
We'll also be holding a silent auction, including private lunches with yours truly, Ezra and Alexa. This isn't just a party, it's a celebration of what we built together. 10 years of telling the other side of the story and standing up for freedom. Tickets are going fast. Grab yours now at happybirthdayrebel.com before early bird pricing ends at midnight on Friday, October the 3rd. And if you want the ultimate Rebel experience, get a VIP ticket. That includes dinner with Rebel journalists before the party. Space is limited, so secure your spot right now. Hello! We'll see you there, Toronto.